This episode is brought to you by La Quinta by Wyndham. Your work can take you all over the place, like Texas. You've never been, but it's going to be great because you're staying at La Quinta by Wyndham. Their free Bright Side breakfast will give you energy for the day ahead. And after, you can unwind using their free high-speed Wi-Fi. Tonight, La Quinta. Tomorrow, you shine. Book your stay today at lq.com.
Families have a lot going on. Let Ollie help manage the mental load with new cognitive help supplements for everyone 4 and up, like delicious Lolly Focus Pops or Lolly Mellow Pops for kids. And for parents, try 3 new Brainy Chews to help you focus, chill out, or get energized. Find these cognitive health buddies for the whole fam at ollie.com. That's OLLY.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
It's another Q&A edition of Optimal Health Daily, episode 2532, and I'm Dr. Neil Malik. Welcome back to another Friday show where I answer your questions. On all the other days, I read health and fitness blogs to you like an audiobook with permission from the authors. Now, I'll let you know how you can send in your own question at the end of the show and get rewarded for it, but for now, let's hear today's question and start optimizing your life. Today's question came via email. Catherine writes, as a vegetarian trying to become a vegan, what are the best ways to get enough calcium? Thank you so much for taking the time to send in your question, Catherine. Calcium is important for our overall health because when we consume calcium in the right amounts most days, it can help prevent a number of diseases. And probably the most common disease we think about preventing when we think about consuming calcium is osteoporosis. Osteoporosis is the condition where holes start to form in our bones, making them brittle and more likely to break. But there are other potential benefits to consuming enough calcium most days, especially when we're young. Now, how much calcium should we be getting each day? The recommended dietary allowances for those identified as male versus female at birth are different. The recommendations also change depending on our age and pregnancy and lactation. So for those between the ages of 19 and 50, regardless of gender, pregnancy, and lactation, we should aim to consume 1,000 milligrams of calcium each day. On average, most men in the U.S. hit this target, but most women fall short. Now, after the age of 50, the recommendations change for females. It's recommended that females consume a bit more calcium each day. The number now goes up from 1,000 milligrams per day to 1,200 milligrams per day. After the age of 70, it's recommended that males also increase their calcium intake to 1,200 milligrams per day. Why the change? This is because after the age of 50, the risk of osteoporosis goes up. So increasing calcium intakes may help with preventing the disease, particularly among women. We're also learning that for true osteoporosis prevention, we should think about consuming enough calcium much earlier in life, like during childhood and adolescence. We're also finding that being active when we're younger and then staying active throughout our lives, especially performing weight-bearing exercises like resistance training, can prevent osteoporosis later. We should also pay attention to our vitamin D levels. Now, I could go on about osteoporosis prevention, but I'm going to stop here and get back to your question, Catherine. In the U.S., most of us consume calcium through dairy products like milk, cheese, and yogurt. Dairy is often naturally high in calcium, but for those that are vegan, dairy isn't going to be a great source of calcium. Those that follow a vegan diet do not consume products that come from an animal. Note that this is different from those that follow a vegetarian diet. Those that follow a vegetarian diet avoid consuming animal flesh specifically. So some that follow a vegetarian diet may still consume products made from animals, just so long as it isn't actual animal flesh. Some plant-based sources, like leafy greens, can be decent sources of calcium. For example, kale, broccoli, soy, tofu, and bok choy, also known as Chinese cabbage, are decent sources of calcium. Now, why am I saying they're decent sources and not good or great sources? Well, it's because they don't have as much calcium per serving as dairy products. You may hear that spinach, collard greens, sweet potatoes, and beans are also good sources of calcium, But the problem with these plant-based foods is that the body doesn't absorb calcium from these sources as well as it does from dairy products. For example, the National Institutes of Health say that the body absorbs about 30% of the calcium from cow's milk. But when it comes to spinach, the body only absorbs about 5%. In fact, a recent meta-analysis found that those that follow a vegan diet do often consume less calcium when compared to those that consume animal products, and even those that follow a vegetarian diet. Another meta-analysis found that those that follow a vegan diet were more at risk for developing bone-related diseases like osteoporosis. So, is all hope lost for those that follow a vegan diet? Absolutely not. Instead, it may just take a bit more meal planning to make sure that you're getting enough calcium. For example, making sure that those that follow a vegan diet consume a variety of plant-based foods like leafy greens, soy, potatoes, and so on absolutely helps. I would also recommend buying products that have been fortified with calcium. Fortification simply means that calcium has been added to the product by the food manufacturer. For example, buy plant-based milks that are fortified with calcium. If you drink orange juice, buy the variety that has been fortified with calcium. While I prefer we try and consume our nutrients from food sources, there are times when we may need to consider a supplement. So it may be worthwhile to have a conversation with your doctor or a dietitian about whether taking a calcium supplement may be a good idea. They will also be able to guide you as to how much you should supplement with and how often. If you and your healthcare provider decide that taking a calcium supplement is a good idea, be sure to take it with food. This will make sure that as much calcium as possible gets absorbed from the supplement. We're driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites. One of the things I love about Indeed is that it filters out incompatible applicants. So when you're hiring, the process is much faster, and you only have to consider applicants that are already likely to be a great fit. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/health. Just go to Indeed.com/health right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/health. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. From the launch your online shop stage, all the way to the we just hit 1 million orders stage. No matter what stage you're in, Shopify's there to help you grow. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/special offer, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/special offer.
Thank you again for taking the time to send in your question, Catherine. Now, if you want to send your questions in, you can email them to health@oldpodcast.com. That's health@oldpodcast.com. Or if you want your voice played on the show, just come by oldpodcast.com/ask. Also, you can do it the old-fashioned way and call in your question. The number is 1-61-I-LOVE-OHD. That's 1-614-568-3643. And if you send in a relevant question and you're in the U.S., we'll physically mail you a copy of our hardcover Optimal Living Daily Workbook for free. If you're outside the U.S., we'll send you a digital version. Thank you so much for sending in your questions. Answering them is one of my favorite parts of this show. All right, that'll do it for another Q&A edition of Optimal Health Daily. Thank you so much for listening every day and all the way through. I hope you have a great start to your weekend, and I'll see you back here tomorrow where your optimal life awaits.